get started. As I said, my name is Herman Lyons, and I'm a member, one of the many folks on the 8A Stars 3 GWAC team. I am on what we call the program side of the house, or what we call the business development side of the house, along with my partners in crime, Lori Jennings and Belinda DeVore. Belinda and Lori are also here, and they're going to be manning the Q&A pod. So if you have questions, we encourage you not to use the chat pod, but go ahead and use the Q&A feature. The Q&A feature will allow Lori and Belinda to field the questions, and perhaps if we've got some commonly asked questions, they'll just go ahead and ask those of me at the end. So with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. I just wanted to let you know that this webinar is being recorded, so if you have an objection to that, you can go ahead and check out now. And with that being said, let's go ahead and get started. So a little bit of history behind the GWAC dashboards is that we collect a lot of data in the GWAC program. And for years and years, we collected that data through the CPRM, and we held on to that data. You know, we looked at the data internally, but we never really considered leveraging the data outside of our program. And after a couple years of development, we decided to go ahead and announce what we called back then the GWAC dashboards. And the GWAC dashboards were going to be this tool. We weren't quite sure what it was going to be, but it was going to provide industry partners and stakeholders access to the information that we collect in the GWAC program, in hopes that we could use it and you all could use it to leverage your vehicle. You know, constantly we would get FOIA requests, you know, what was the spend on 8A Stars 1 or what's the spend on Vets 1? And, you know, that would take us quite a bit of time to log into business objects and find out that data set, send that data on over to the person requesting or a FOIA office or media. And it just became a time-consuming task. So we said, let's develop this tool in which all of our stakeholders can have access to it, and therefore they can leverage the data and use it in any way they see fit. And so that's kind of the history behind the GWAC dashboards. A few features on slide number 2, and we're going to go through a few slides before we get to the live demo, is that very important. The GWAC dashboard is accessible at gsa.gov/GWAC dashboards or any one of our websites. So you all, I hope, have the 8A Stars 3 website bookmarked. If you're on the 8A Stars 3 GWAC website, you can access the GWAC dashboards from there, and I'll go ahead and show you how to do that. Very important, no login is required. I'm going to make the assumption, and I know I shouldn't, but I'm going to make that assumption that many of you are familiar with the GWAC dashboards because you were taking a look at them as you were preparing your proposals for 8A Stars 3. And I'm sure you appreciated that there was no login required. So just know that anybody can access the dashboards. Our dashboards are updated daily. As a matter of fact, every morning about 5 a.m., our GWAC dashboards extract data from various data sources, and they're posted online. So if you're like me, you're probably not like me, but every morning, one of my morning routines is to go ahead and check the dashboards just to see if any data has uploaded to the tool overnight. At a very high level, our GWAC dashboards display data by GWAC, by federal agency, and also industry partner. So as you're thinking about the data that would be beneficial to you, think about those 3 buckets. Hey, do I want to see data by GWAC, by federal agency, or by industry partner? And as we go through the demo, I'll go ahead and show you how to access those. The GWACs also allow you to create and download custom reports. You know, we realized when we created this GWAC dashboard, it's not one size fits all. Not every industry partner wants to look at things a certain way, or not every industry partner finds value in how we display data. So we allow you to go ahead and create reports, filter reports, and go ahead and download those to Excel. And then lastly, you'll find that our dashboards contain active and expired GWAC task order data. Why does that matter to you guys? Well, I know a strategy for you all is specifically looking at 8A Stars 2 spend and perhaps maybe expiring 8A Stars 2 task order awards. We didn't want to totally remove 8A Stars 2 from the GWAC dashboards, so we kept it on so you all could perform a data analysis and things like that. So we have active GWACs on our dashboards as well as expired GWACs within the data feed tab. And again, I'll go ahead and show you how to access that. Now, how does the GWAC dashboard work, right? How does data get in there? And we've got a slide here, and I've got some images on the slide following, but in a nutshell, you as an industry partner receive an 8A Stars 3 task order award. Congratulations, you've received your award. What's going to happen next is the ordering contracting officer, we also call it OCO, they're going to enter that task order information into FPDS NG or their specific agency reporting system. So if it's not if they do not directly enter into FPDS, it's just a matter of time before that order will get into FPDS. So every single 8A Stars 3 task order award will be in FPDS. FPDS then imports task order information into the CPRM, the Contractor Payment Reporting Module, right? And just an overview, the CPRM, that's that tool that you're required to populate when you win a task order award or you get a modification to an existing task order award, or you go report your invoicing and your CAF paid. The CPRM, that tool, you'll become very familiar with it, especially if you're a successful 8A Stars 3 contractor. So FPDS populates the CPRM daily. And then lastly, the CPRM exports data. So it exports data out of the CPRM into the GWAC dashboards. And again, that's done daily every morning. So that is in a nutshell how the data gets into the dashboard. You'll see at the bottom of the slide and that industry partners are responsible for task order accuracy. I'm just going to say it here and now. Not all task order information in FPDS is entirely accurate. So if it's not entirely accurate in FPDS, then it's not going to be entirely accurate in the GWAC dashboards. However, you'll see in your contract that all of you, all as industry partners, you all have the responsibility to ensure the accuracy of task order data, right? So if you find information on your company in the GWAC dashboard and it's not accurate, well, it's your responsibility to go ahead and ensure that it's accurate in CPRM. Once you make the change in CPRM, then that'll carry on over to the GWAC dashboards. Slide number 4 is just a graphic of what I just talked about. OCO enters the awards as Stars 3 task order. It goes into FPDS. On a daily basis, it goes into the CPRM, and on a daily basis, CPRM exports that data into the GWAC dashboard. So I just thought it was very, very important to give you a history of the dashboards, how the dashboards work, so a few features and benefits, and how the process, how the flow goes. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and jump on out to the dashboards, okay? And you will see, I've changed screens. You will see that right now I'm on the 8A Stars 3 homepage. You could have gotten to the dashboards directly by the link that I shared, or as I mentioned earlier, I said if you were ever on the 8A Stars 3 website, you could go ahead and access the dashboards. You'll see down here, there's an image that says GWAC Dashboards. Go ahead and click that link, and we're going to give you some information about the GWAC dashboard. We're going to give you some high-level information so you know what it is. And most of you all know what it is, but you can access the dashboard one of 2 ways. You can click the link that says View the GWAC Dashboards, or you can click this image that's hyperlinked. Either way, it's going to get you to the GWAC dashboards. You click that link, and it's going to open the dashboards right up. Those of you who have been using the dashboards for quite some time, you all may remember an icon. There was an icon that appeared in the middle of the screen, and then you had to click the icon. And then after that, it would open up the dashboards. So I'm going to make the dashboard just a little bit bigger so we can see you all have a good viewing experience. So here they are, the GWAC sales dashboard. These hundreds of millions of data points extracted from the CPRM. And I'm going to just go ahead and give a high-level overview of the dashboard. And I realized today that there may be some things that I don't do a good job explaining, or some things that you just maybe have missed. Just know that you can always contact me or any of the member of the 8A Stars 3 team with questions. We do have contact information at the end of the presentation, but I'm sure you know our contact information by now. But with that being said, here it is. Here's the dashboard. I'd like to draw your attention to the top and where we've got some tabs. All GWAC, by federal agency, and by industry partner. These tabs, as I mentioned earlier, allow you to view task order data by GWAC, by a federal agency, or by an industry partner. So depending on what you're looking for, go ahead and keep those 3 tabs in mind. All of the tabs are set up the same format in the same way. I'll go ahead and go through each one of those tabs, but they all look the same, and the top of the screen has bar charts, graphs, and at the bottom of the screen has lists. Additionally, we've got a tab called Data Feed. Data Feed is that tab that allows you to build custom reports. It allows you to filter task order data. Maybe you want to see 8A Stars 2 task orders that are expiring in FY23 and FY24. that data feed tab is going to allow you to go ahead and filter your report. And the most important part, it's going to allow you to download that information into Excel. We have contacts. We've got contact information. Like, the GWACs don't only consist of the VETS 2 and the 8A Stars 3 GWAC, but also the Alliant 2 GWAC. Should you have any questions for our team or that team, you can access that there. We've got a lot of definitions, right? GWACs are new to most of you all. And if you're not quite sure what a term means within the dashboard, go ahead and click the definitions tab, and it will go ahead and describe that. And then lastly, we've got a user guide. Our user guide could probably be 30 pages, but we decided to really simplify it, to give you some pop outs, let you know what does this, what does that. And I hardly ever get any calls on how to use the dashboard. And if I do get a call on how to use the dashboard, they're typically 5 minutes. So we don't really feel the need to throw a 30-page document out there, but just know at a high level, there's a user guide within the dashboard. So let's go ahead and take a look at some of the features, the bells and whistles that the dashboard contains. I always start when I use the dashboard by using this drop down here, select contract family. And I'm typically looking at 8A Stars 3 task order data. But what I'll do is I'll go ahead and click 8A Stars 3. And after you make a selection, it's very important. A lot of people overlook it. Go ahead and click the apply button. We're simply telling the GWAC dashboard that we want to look at contract data for only the 8A Stars 3 GWAC. We'll click off of there and the box will disappear. And what I'm showing here is at a high level that 39 task order awards have been issued against the 8A Stars 3 GWAC. I can see that 38 of them were issued in FY21, and I can see one has been issued in FY22. I can see that those 39 task order awards have resulted in $48.93 million of obligations. I can also hover over and maybe see, I can see that, 47.6 of that 48.9 were awarded in FY22. So you can see at a high level, the number of task order awards and the spend on the 8A Stars 3 GWAC. This works the same way if I click another vehicle. Let's go ahead and add the 8A Stars 2 GWAC. So all I do is I open up the drop down that says select contract family. I select 8A Stars 2. I click the apply button and I wait for it to add 8A Stars 2, and I click in the white to get off of here. So wow, look what we have, right? We don't have a lot of information for 8A Stars 3 as compared to 8A Stars 2. You'll see that it's now added 8A Stars 2, and now between the two contracts that we have, 8A Stars 2 and 8A Stars 3, there are 6,171 task order awards, which have generated $13.1 billion in obligations. Again, like I showed you before, you can go ahead and hover over any one of these bars, and it's going to tell you specifically about that year. Now, you've noticed that our dashboard goes all the way back to 2011. The reason it goes back to 2011 now is because 8A Stars 2 was first awarded in 2011 and is capturing all that information. But what if we just wanted to look at data from 2021 to 2022? There's a feature, begin fiscal year, and it allows us to look at contracts or view spend or task orders for a certain period of time. Now, we don't have a lot of information here because we've only picked 2021 and 2022, but let's go back to 2019. So let's tell the dashboard, let's look at task order data spend from 2019 to 2022. So we can see in the past 3 years, these two contract vehicles have generated 1,708 task order awards and just over $5.1 billion. We can quickly see down here in the legend that 8A Stars 2 is the blue color and 8A Stars 3 is the green color. Now, since we're talking about fiscal years, we can also select a single fiscal year. And what selecting a single fiscal year is going to allow us to do is view task order data by month. So 2021, let's select that as our begin fiscal year. And let's also select 2021 as our end fiscal year. You'll notice that it's going to change our chart from being fiscal years at the bottom to now we've got a monthly view. And I hope you guys are able to see my screen okay. I'll make it just a little bit bigger. But you can see in February, there were 22 task order awards. Obviously, Stars 3 wasn't awarded then, so they all belong to 8A Stars 2, coded in blue. Now, you'll see 8A Stars 3 starts to pick up in September, right? 37 task order awards in September. And I think we have one lonely task order awarded in August. So I just wanted to bring this up so you all could see a few of the features that are in the 8A stars, the GWAC tool. A few of the displays that we have is right below the contract family. You can view task order data by line or also grouped bar. So when looking at data via the line, it just really changes the display, right? It lets you know, it gives us a better display linearly how the contract is moving over time. And right now, again, we're just looking at it from month to month. But if we go ahead and let's start at fiscal year 2015 and look at through FY21, we're going to go ahead and see this task orders. We're going to go ahead and see different trends right here. Again, not much for 8A stars 3 because the contract wasn't awarded at that time. But what if we go ahead and put the Alliant 2 and the Vets 2 GWAC in there as well by selecting all, clicking apply, and we can kind of see these contract vehicles, how they're going. We can see Alliant really started to shoot up in about 2020. We can see 8A stars 2 started to taper off, so on and so forth. So this is just a cool feature, and just another way for you to look at the dashboards. And again, you can click any data point in here and it'll just kind of highlight it for you, or I should say extract the other things. The last thing is a grouped bar. A grouped bar is really where our contract vehicles are side by side. You can see in this section right here, 2021, we've got 8A stars 2 right here, 8A stars 3, Alliant 2, and the Vets 2 GWAC. So I wanted to just show you those features because those features really are applicable to all of the pages we're looking at, no matter if it's all GWAC, by federal agency, or by industry partner. So let's go ahead and narrow it back down and just look at some 8A stars 2 to 8A stars 3 GWAC information. And we'll go ahead and leave the begin fiscal years from FY15 to FY21. So again, always in the top right-hand corner will be the number of total task order awards, and always in the top left-hand corner will be the total obligated sales for each one of those vehicles that are selected, okay? Now, as we scroll down to the bottom, it's really nice to see that for what we're looking at, we've got 4,460 task orders, but we might want to see the agencies that generated those 4,460 task order awards. And we can do that in the bottom. Always in the bottom left-hand, what I like to call the quadrant, is going to be federal agency information. Always, always in the bottom right-hand quadrant is going to be industry partner information. So really quickly, I can see that from 2015 to 2021, for the 8A stars 2 and 8A stars 3 GWACs, let me scroll down, the Department of Defense has generated 424 task order awards and obligated $1.6 billion, okay? I can see that Department of State has done 185 and so on and so forth. So please keep in mind that the data displayed within these two charts at the bottom are always going to match the data displayed in the charts at the top. And everything is going to reflect the selections that you've made in terms of contract family and begin fiscal year. Bottom right-hand quadrant, I can see the number of task order awards, and I can sort by the number of task order awards here. But as it's thinking, I can see that Telecommunications Solution Group was awarded 91 task order awards and obligated 19, is that $19 million? Yeah, it looks like $19 million. So, you know, how I use this bottom quadrant, or if I were back in, you know, in you guys' shoes and you speak with an industry partner and they tell you how great they are and all the experience that they have and all the traction that they have, this right here would be one of the first places I look. Well, let me see what kind of traction that industry partner had, what kind of success they had on the 8A stars 2 GWAC. So really quickly, if you look at the bottom of the dashboards, a lot of us miss this, but toward the bottom, in the bottom right-hand corner, there's a button that says download. If you click that download button, it's going to allow you to download this as a PDF. So let me go ahead and do it now. I'll click download, click PDF. It's going to download to my machine. It's going to ask, do I want this view? I'm going to download it. And this may be good, you know, if you're going to a presentation or if you're speaking with a group of folks who don't quite know about what GWACs are, you could always go ahead and share this resource with them. So let me go ahead and switch a few screens here. So as I pull it up, we'll see the image that we were looking at, everything copied over, and now we have a PDF of that. So just wanted to show you that, something to keep in mind, okay? So as we get back to the, let me get back to the dashboards. Move a few things around. Okay, perfect. So we're back on our dashboards, and I'm going to go to the next tab. So we've really taken a look at the all GWAC tab. And remember, this GWAC tab here is set up in the same format and flow as the others. So let's click on the tab that says by federal agency. Let's make some assumptions, right? And everything came over as we were looking at it before, but I'm just going to go ahead and hit reset just to make sure everything resets. But let's go ahead and say we want to look at 8A stars 3 task order data by Department of Treasury, for example. Well, I would go ahead and select my contract family, as we always do. I would unselect everything. I would pick 8A stars 2. Let's pick 8A stars 2 and 8A stars 3. Click the apply button, and you'll notice now we have a new drop down that says select federal agency. Now this list is going to be populated with every federal agency which has task order data for 8A stars 2 and or 8A stars 3. So what I'll do, we all have them populated by default. Again, if you remember from our screen before, 4,460 task order awards worth $11 million for this time period. Well, let's go ahead and just take a look at Department of Treasury. I'm going to go ahead and deselect everything except Department of Treasury. Keep in mind, we need to hit the apply button. And after we hit the apply button, things are going to change. And it's just going to show us task order data for the Department of Treasury. So when I'm speaking to Department of Treasury and they tell me, Herman, Lori, Belinda, we're not really sure if we use 8A stars 2. We've never heard about it before. The first thing I'm thinking is, okay, I'm going to go check out the GWAC dashboard. I'm going to give them a level of comfort. And then when I speak with them again, I'm going to let them know that, well, over the past 7 years, you all have issued 196 task order awards and obligated $464 million in awards. I'm going to go ahead and tell them that in 2019, their spend really picked up as a result of them increasing or doubling the number of task order awards from 21 to 48. I'm going to go ahead and let them know that they've obligated $110 million in 2020. And last year we fell off a little bit, but you still cranked out $73 million. And we also included 8A stars 3 into the portfolio. So that's how I use this dashboard data when I speak with other federal customers. Again, the information in the bottom left-hand corner is always federal agency information. But hey, hold on, Herman, you already said we're looking at Department of Treasury, and you're exactly right. What we've done on this page is we try to capture the spend by bureau. So you can see now of that 196 task order awards, 107 of them for the time period we're looking at were issued by the Internal Revenue Service. And those 107 task orders generated $316 million of obligations. Again, this chart works just as the other one did on the main page. It just breaks down spend by agency. Now, a lot of folks might ask me, Herman, why does it say Department of Treasury right here? And I'm going to tell you because it just simply wasn't captured in the CPRM. If an industry partner, the FPDS doesn't bring over the bureau within CPRM, then it's just going to appear underneath Department of Treasury. So just keep that in mind as you look at these task order awards. Okay. Now we can also see the spend by industry partner on the right-hand side. And we know that 7 task orders were awarded in fiscal year 21. So let's get a little more specific. Instead of looking at 8A stars 2 and 8A stars 3, let's just take a look at 8A stars 3. We can see which of our industry partners have captured sales from the Department of Treasury. We can see that 7 so far worth $8.4 million. We can see the bureaus within Treasury who are using our GWAC. And now we can see our peers, our 8A stars 3 industry partners who have received task order awards from Department of Treasury. We can see the contract family, the number of task order awards, and the total obligated sales. So again, task order, number of task orders is always in the top right-hand quadrant. Obligated sales always in the top left. Federal agency information always in the bottom left, and industry partner information always in the bottom right. Okay, we try to keep it consistent. Okay. Now let's say we want to take it a step further. Let's say we want to check out the industry partners who are really doing a lot of the work. And so what we'll do is now we're looking at data by industry partner. We're going to go ahead and click on the by industry partner tab. Okay. Let's make an assumption, right? Let's make the assumption that one of our strategies in our business plan is we want to engage with the most successful 8A stars 2 industry partners. Well, since I'm looking for data by industry partner, I know Herman said something about that GWAC dashboard. I'm going to go to the by industry partner tab. And I want to look at task order data for stars 2 because I want to look at those most successful 8A stars 2 industry partners. And what I want to see is these industry partner names. And so now let's make another assumption that we want to look at task order data for this company right here. I don't know if this company has a lot of task order awards or not, but we'll go ahead and pick ACE. And very important is you'll see the apply button is hidden. So again, always remember to scroll down, click the apply button, and we'll see things have changed now. And so now we have a company who's won 13 task order awards, right? And we can see that they may not have got their STARS 2 option exercise because there's nothing after 2017. So this would be a way to look at federal agency information. Another way to do it is we pick an industry partner first, right? And we picked that industry partner first, and what it did is it filtered down everything else. So now that I've selected ACE, I can go ahead and select federal agency. And now it's going to only give me those agencies in which ACE Info Solutions received task order awards for. Let's say we wanted to do it the opposite, right? Let's say we wanted to look at we wanted to look at industry partners who received task orders in specific agencies, right? So we could always start with select federal agency. And I need to go ahead and looks like I made my own mistake. I told you guys to avoid. I clicked all, but I neglected to click apply. So always remember, click apply, especially when you have a long list that jumps off your page. Let's say we want to take a look at specific agency energy, for example. We can select Department of Energy, and we can, again, I did it once again, forgot to apply. Scroll down, click apply. Because let's say Department of Energy is one of my strategic customers, right? But I don't know which industry partners work for Department of Energy. Now I've kind of backdoored it, right? I've selected 8A STARS 2, I've selected Department of Energy. Now I can select an industry partner. Now it's only going to give me a handful of industry partners right here. But let's go ahead and take a look down here. And we can see, yeah, most of them only have a few of them. We'll just go ahead and select, let's just select Acuity and Akira. Click the apply button. And as the dashboard's changing over, it should only show us task order data for 8A STARS 2, for Department of Energy, for Acuity and Akira. So now we can see those two companies won 3 task order awards, were obligated $5.7 million by Energy. We can see the totals down here again. And now we can see one new feature is that nowhere else in the dashboard does it show you the total estimated value, but we can see that now. We can see that, for example, the first company was obligated $5.0 million. However, the total estimated value is $6.4 million. So this company may still be working on the task order award. They just haven't captured all of the spend. So in a nutshell, folks, that's what the GWAC dashboards are in terms of the charts. Remember, if you have questions, throw them in the Q&A and we'll get to them later on. But all the dashboards and charts are set up the same way, okay? Now, the last tab that I'll cover, and probably our most powerful tab, is the tab titled Data Feed. Go ahead and click the tab titled Data Feed, and this is the tab that allows you to build your report. And you can see that you've got task order data that's coming over already. Don't pay attention to this data. This is just sample data. It's just a piece of data. It's not all encompassing. It's just here to give you a visual representation that task order data is available. You will see, very important, on the right-hand side of the screen are these blue boxes. These blue boxes are filters. They allow you to filter out task order data. Okay, let's go ahead and go through a drill. Let's say that I'm interested in identifying all 8A STARS 2 task order awards that are going to be expiring in fiscal year 23. How would we do that? We would just work our filters, right? Contract family, we would deselect all, and I'm going to go ahead and select 8A STARS 2. And after you click on each one of these checkboxes, these are a little different in that they don't have the apply functionality. We tried to get it in here, but Tableau was a little bit limiting to us, so we couldn't. Let's say I'm taking a look at a specific functional area on 8A STARS 2 that I know I'm interested in 541511 and 541512 because that's where my sweet spot is. And I remember that 8A STARS 2 had those 2 functional areas, and they were considered functional area 1 and functional area 2 on the 8A STARS 2 GWAC. So let's go ahead and select functional area 1 and functional area 2. And our tool is going to filter, and it's only going to show us 8A STARS 2 task order awards that were issued to 8A STARS 2 industry partners underneath Constellation 1, functional area 1, and Constellation 1, functional area 2. Now we could continue to go through this. We could go ahead and select a federal agency. We could select a bureau. We could do all of those things. However, for the sake of time, I'm just going to go ahead and go down toward the bottom and show you these last two filters. I can select to filter by the fiscal year of order award, or I can select, and I should say, or I could select to filter by fiscal year of order completion. In the example that we used, I said that I wanted to see task order awards expiring in fiscal year 2023. So just as I did with the other filters, I would deselect everything and I would select fiscal year 2023. And so what this dashboard is doing, it's filtering 8A Stars 2 task order awards awarded underneath Constellation 1, Functional Area 1, Constellation 1, Functional Area 2, expiring in fiscal year 2023. And it's going to show me that. I'm going to get to download that. Very important. These buttons down here, again, I'm going to harp on it. There's a download button. And we've got some instructions right here, but they go overlooked oftentimes. But I'm going to go ahead and click the download button. And you're just going to give me some choices on how I download this. If you remember earlier, we picked PDF for our PDF image earlier. And crosstab in the Tableau environment is equivalent to Excel. So go ahead and click crosstab, and it's going to give me two choices. I could download this data into Excel, or I could download this data into CSV. I will tell you that I always download the data into CSV because it's much cleaner for me to look at. Again, it's your choice, it's up to you, but I always download in CSV, and I'm going to click the download button. And what it's going to do, it's just going to download this to my machine. I'm going to go ahead and open it up. And I'm going to see a lot more granular task order data than I was seeing on the dashboards, really quickly. And I can make all these bigger. I'm not going to go into a demonstration on how to use Excel, but within here, I can see each task order award. I can see when each task order award was awarded, the task order number, what federal agency issued that task order award, the total estimated value, number of bids, so on and so forth. Really, really important in column U in uniform, I can see these task order awards estimated ultimate completion dates, right? Even though we said FY23, here's one ending in September 29, 1993. Column S is fairly important because column S, if you see statutory exception, that typically means that there is a statutory exception to fair opportunity, which means that they did not have to provide competition, so they issued the award via sole source. Okay. Another tip in column G, traditionally, task order awards valued at or below $4 or sometimes $4.5 million are going to be awarded on a sole source basis. So you all can check that out. A lot of people ask, the most commonly asked question that I receive is, Herman, this is cool and all, but where's the contracting officer information? And that is information that we do not provide. Having a contracting officer email is just that, having a contracting officer email. And I'm sure we're sure that they wouldn't want 300 industry partners sending them emails about a specific opportunity. However, what we do have in here is all of the industry partners who received those task order awards. And we also have the industry partner name and contract number. That would be column J and column K. Let's face it, folks, you're going to get more information from an incumbent industry partner about this opportunity than you are going to get from a CO. An incumbent industry partner is going to be able to tell you how the job went, how the processes goes. Is it a joy to work in that agency? Do they have their things together? Is there an opportunity to make some money, et cetera? So we always share information on the industry partner, who it was that received the task order award. So, as you think about it, do I really need the OCO information? Go ahead and start with that incumbent industry partner. A lot of times they're going to be able to give you the information that nobody else can. And again, how I would approach this is I would look at those industry partners who do not possess an 8A Stars 3 GWAC and go ahead and engage with them to see if they might be able to talk. Keep it in mind that, recurring opportunities should stay in the 8A program. And, you can keep, you as an 8A Stars 3 contractor holder can keep with that. So I'll go ahead and close out this window, and I'll go ahead and get back to the presentation, because I had a few other things that I'd like to share with you. A few reminders about the dashboard is that, so I don't want you guys to get lost in the data, right? Like, I look at this dashboard data every day and sometimes I get lost in it, but don't get lost in the data. Data is just that, it's data. If you don't know what to do with the data, then it's worthless, right? We encourage you to use the dashboard to support your strategic plan. If you start strategically identify 3 or 4 different agencies, Then I'm going to go into the dashboard with specific objectives. I'm going to see everything I can about that, how that agency has engaged with GWACs over the past 5 years. Maybe not just STARS 2 or STARS 3. Maybe I'll look at the VETS 2 GWAC as well. So use the dashboards to help supplement your strategic plan. Consider using the dashboard to form alliances with experienced 8A STARS 2 industry partners. The 8A STARS 2 industry partners who have had success, they've been there, they've cut their teeth. They can help you out. I think you'll find that most incumbent 8A STARS 2 industry partners, they understand the game and they understand how important teaming is and subcontracting. We do keep a list. I should say that I'll say it. We do keep a list of our 8A STARS 2 industry partners on our GWAC website. If you go to gsa.gov/expired GWACs, it's going to show you all of GSA's expired GWACs. Within there, it's also going to give you an industry partner list. That industry partner list will allow you to look at the list, first of all, and see if any of the incumbents that you're interested in see if they're on the 8A STARS 3 GWAC. We've got points of contact, we've got email, and we've got phone numbers. So go ahead and leverage that 8A STARS 2 industry partner list. And again, as I told you guys in the beginning, feel free to contact me, feel free to contact us with questions about this tool. I know we went over a lot, and this tool is it's a very powerful tool, but sometimes we can get lost in it. So, if you're on the tool and you find yourself for 30 minutes just spinning your wheels, go ahead and say, hey, you know what, Herman said I could give him a call. Herman said I could email him. Don't be afraid to go ahead and do that, okay? We did have some reference slides in here in the event that the tool went out while we were using it, but we lucked out today. And the last slide that I'll talk to before I open it up and ask Lori and Belinda to chime in if we had any Q&A is our contact information. Again, our group email box is s3@gsa.gov. That's our preferred method of communication. But I can tell you, for me personally, if you got a question for me, feel free to go ahead and just shoot me an email at herman.lines@gsa.gov. Give me a call, and I'll go ahead and get you taken care of rather quickly. Again, my partners in crime, Belinda DeVore. You'll see Belinda's contact information in the top right-hand corner. And at the bottom, you'll see Lori, who's our team lead in the the STARS 3 program manager. So with that said, Lori and Belinda, we're at about 40 after the hour. I'm done with my presentation. Were there any Q&As that you wanted to bring up, Lori, that maybe you wanted to ask me live that we can see if we could answer?
Herman, we did have one question, and I addressed it, but might be good to share with everyone. There was a question about task orders for an industry partner on STARS 2 that did not get their option, and how is it that they're still getting obligated sales?
Okay, so not really a dashboard question, but more of a contractual question, right? Gotcha. Well, I think you guys will find out when you read your 8A STARS 2, your 8A STARS 3 GWAC. Task order duration is not dependent upon the master, the basic contract, or I should say the option being exercised. So I'm sure you addressed that, Lori. Not really a dashboard question, but yep, sounds good. Anything else, Lori, or anything else? I would encourage you all. We're going to go ahead and pause here for a couple of minutes. If you do have questions, just go ahead and throw it in that Q&A pod, and we'll go ahead and answer it.
I have a clarification on a question. Caroline asked, can you repeat where to find the STARS 2 awardees? Are you wanting the STARS 2 awardees like task orders, or STARS 2 awardees orders against the STARS 2 contract?
So, Belinda, I think I can go ahead and take that one if you don't mind. I'm just going to go ahead and get off the dashboard and go to gsa.gov/expired GWACs. And this was the link that I just shared in the presentation, folks. So you can see we're back in GWAC land, right? We're back on the GWAC pages, and we can see we've got 8A STARS 3 right here, line 2, etc. But at the bottom, there's a link that says, a page that says expired GWACs, and that's where it's going to bring you. Here's where you have that 8A STARS 2 information that I was telling you about. Right here we have a contract, we've got the ordering guide, and we've got the list of 8A STARS 2 industry partners. I'll go ahead and open up this spreadsheet. You're going to find that it looks very similar to the 8A STARS 3 spreadsheet. All right, and here we have it. Here we have the 780 plus 8A STARS 2 industry partners. They're all listed just as you all are. And as I scroll on over, I can see where they're located. I can see who their contract manager is. I can see, I kind of jumped ahead of myself. Then I can see their phone number and their group email address and their website. So again, if I'm looking at, an 8A Stars 2 incumbent and I'm thinking about maybe reaching out to them to find out more about an opportunity, how we can work together through a prime subcontractor relationship, the first thing I'm going to do is kind of this page right here. I'm just going to take a look at their website. I'm going to see what they have going on their website. If it tells you a little bit about what they do, et cetera. And then I'm just going to go ahead and reach out to the contract manager and see if they might be interested in talking about this opportunity. So yeah, gsa.gov/expired GWACs will, that'll give you that contact information. Okay, so we do have a question, and Lori and Belinda, I can see this one. The question is, what % of federal agencies and specific contracting officers and specialists are trained on the GSA S3 GWAC? Do you see general uptick in the adoption of S3 compared to S2? So Lori, I'm going to take part of that question, Lori, and I'm going to leave the first part of it up to you because I know you're an expert in DPAs. But the answer to, did you see a general uptick in the adoption of S3 compared to S2 is yes, definitely. We ran a report about 3 weeks ago, and we looked at the first 3 weeks, the first 3 months of 8A Stars 2 compared to 8A Stars 3. And it was astronomical. I believe that the total estimated sales on 8A Stars 3 now is $100 million. So of those 39 task order awards, we estimate about $100 million in estimated value. For the same time period on 8A Stars 2, we had about 20 task orders worth, I think, about $55 or $60 million. Now, inflation is up, the cost of IT services is up, et cetera. But we did see a substantial jump in the number of task order awards being issued. Hey, Lori, did you have any information on the number of training DPAs that we've issued so far by chance? I know you keep a fairly close eye on that.
So we have trained approximately 1,100 federal military personnel, and about 400 are delegated to utilize the 8A Stars 3 GWAC. And we continue training. We've got a session tomorrow. We've got 2 sessions next week. So there's high interest in receiving that training. So we plan to provide it as frequently as possible. gsa.gov/events, or the Stars 3 website has a link for federal personnel to sign up to attend those sessions. Also wanted to note, we are planning for November to provide our industry partners with a session on DPA. So exactly what we tell our customers, to give you some of those buzzwords, key points, and things like that. And more information on that will be coming.
Thank you, Lori. All right. Well, I don't see any questions. Belinda, Lori, it looks like we do have one. Maybe obtain a list as to which government agencies are told to use 8A Stars 3. Well, how do I answer this question? I'll start off with delegations of procurement authority, right? We don't share a list of DPA holders, and I know you guys hopefully remember the story about the 2 shoe salesmen I mentioned. So we don't share a DPA list. However, we are working right now with several agencies to update their memos, their policy memos, and encourage the use of 8A Stars 3. I'm not going to spill the beans, but we did receive a very important memo today. We have to wait for that agency to get out in front of it with our communications because we don't want to be out in front of it. But when these new memos do get released, you all will be amongst the first industry partners to know about it. Also, we go ahead and post those. Since I'm actually on the 8A Stars 3 website now, I'll go ahead and go to the overview tab. And as you scroll down to the very bottom, you can see policy memos. And as we receive those policy memos and get 8A Stars 2 updated with 8A Stars 3, we'll go ahead and post them down here. But you all will be among the first to know when we're able to identify those agencies who have been strongly encouraged to first consider GWACs and 8A Stars 3 to satisfy their IT service requirements. Okay. How does 8A Stars 3 match against Polaris? I can't answer that question. Polaris is an entirely different acquisition vehicle. That's not an acquisition vehicle yet. So what I will tell you is that I'm sure what you've been able to figure out, the Polaris is to be a GSA GWAC, and 8A Stars 3 is a GSA GWAC. So that's all we have on that. And with that being said, Lori, unless you have an objection, I don't see any more questions coming through. What do you think, Lori? Can we go ahead and wrap it up and let these folks get back to their busy day?
Sounds good. I was just going to note that following this session, later this week, we'll be sending a copy of the slides and a link to this recorded webinar for all the group email addresses listed for the STARS 3 awardees.
Perfect. Thank you, Lori. Thank you, Belinda. Well, with that being said, folks, that's the end of our GWAC dashboard overview training. Again, s3@gsa.gov or herman.lines@gsa.gov. Go ahead and send us an email. Let us know if we can help. We'll set some time aside to go ahead and answer your specific questions about the GWAC dashboard. With that being said, thank you for attending, and this webinar is now concluded. Thank you.